Armadillo is about a platoon of combat soldiers who go to the very front line of the fighting in southern Afghanistan, and it follows them throughout their term there, and it traces sort of the mental and psychological development of young men at war. And it takes us through some very, action-packed fighting experiences. It's also from a more sort of, say, like a mythological perspective. It's a story about a fall from grace, a story about loss, and a story about death, and also maybe a story about insight, and maybe dangerous insight. There was quite a lot of meetings before we started shooting this film with the National Army Command in Denmark, and we put forth the idea that we wanted to make a story about what it means to be a young soldier at war, for good and bad. And there was a genuine interest from the side of the army in Denmark to have a portrait of the war that was actually authentic to what's going on there, to show also the rough side of war, the brutality, because this is something that the soldiers are facing, and this is something that the army has to legitimize to the nation. And then from there, we start at top level, and then you go down, and then in the end you meet the soldiers, and I proposed my idea to them about making something that talked about the war from their perspective, that talked about their experiences, but was from that point on kind of an open-eyed exploration of what war is, and they went along with the idea, and we shot for altogether 3.5 months in Afghanistan, split up on 4 tours shooting. I was allowed to go everywhere with them as long as they told me it was okay, and as time went by, we became more and more integrated with the group, and we were just there. There was never any overt attempt to affect the filmmaking in a sort of propagandistic direction. I think the army is clever enough not to try and do that, but obviously, when things got very tough, as they are in the film, there was anxiety what this film was going to end up as. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a question that we'll never know the exact answer to. I don't think you can ever be present with a camera without people being aware of the camera. However, I think that filming combat might be an exception to that, because people are fighting for their lives sometimes, and they don't. I think you don't have time to think about it, the presence of a camera in that situation. There was me and a cinematographer that I work with on all my films, Lars Kreh. He's a film photographer, and we always work in a very cineastic understanding with each other. Sometimes we worked on big cameras inside the camp, and he's doing the camera work. On patrols, usually we were both filming either out on the patrol, or I would be filming inside the camp or on a vehicle, and he would be filming with the patrol, so we would cover the whole sort of mechanism of war, because war is also, I mean, strategically quite mechanical. You do things in a certain way for certain reasons, and we were able to, by having more cameras in the field, we were able to cover the communication between the soldiers, which is how you actually find out what's going on. And then aside from that, we had some of the soldiers strapped with helm cams, so you get this kind of first-person experience, almost like computer gaming, which is also something that we play on very deliberately. But there is kind of, you could say, other type of reality that maybe comes from other films, that comes from computer games, that comes from the whole way you fictionalize yourself into being a soldier. This is definitely, I mean, one of the more interesting topics, I think, of the film. It's the various levels of reality that are present in the way that the action unfolds. I mean, I think this is a very difficult question, because we put ourselves in the same, we exposed ourselves to the same risks as the soldiers. So I could have not come home. I could have come home without legs, and probably I would have not thought it was worth it. But I mean, we were lucky enough to not step on any mines or not get shot, and now we have an amazing film and an amazing document. So that was worth it. But I think also you have to be a little bit foolish to make a film like this. No, I wouldn't do it again. I have no sort of addiction to this kind of war reportage. I'm a filmmaker. I was interested in this film for filmic reasons, and because I think making a war movie, touches on all the great big mythological questions about what is violence, what is what does it mean to be a man, what's good, what's bad, what's the civilized, what's the barbaric. And then from a political stand, I thought, well, I was struck by the fact that before we started making this film, there was no real documentary filmmaking about the war in Afghanistan in Denmark, and hardly in the world, as I saw it. It was all reportage, but there was nothing that, from my perspective, went deeper into the notions of what it actually means to be at war. So from various perspectives, I was very attracted and challenged to do this film. It kept developing in my head, and I thought, well, at some point you get to a point where you have to do it. And there's a point of no return, and then it's dangerous. Well, okay. I have a few things that I'm working on, but I mean, we only finished this film 4 days before coming to Cannes, and it's been almost, it's been an immense job. And I haven't had much time to think about anything else. So the first thing that's on my schedule is a good vacation when I come back from here.